Okay, so just as a starting point, just so you're introducing yourself, can you just give me your full name and again, just tell me a little bit about your practice and the clients that you work with?
Sure. My name is Jane McCahill, and my law practice is in healthcare. And most of the work that I do is with healthcare providers, maybe joint ventures among providers. I do a lot around compliance and reimbursement and payment issues. And it's an always changing area.
Yeah. And you were saying that you've worked had experience at big firms, medium-sized firms, and some small firms, or you now have your own firm.
So in my practice, I've worked at big firms. I was with a boutique firm for some time that just did healthcare, and I've been working as a solo practitioner for the last 3 years, which is it's a great way to practice law.
Yeah, I agree. So with it being the Young Lawyer Section's 50th anniversary, what advice would you have given to your newer attorney self? So something that you might have done a little bit differently, maybe a piece of wisdom, a mindset, or that you used to approach, growing your practice, something that might be helpful to attorneys who are earlier on in their career.
One of the things that I wish I had figured out more quickly is that practicing law really is providing a service. It's being of service to clients, and to really think of it that way. It's not I'm creating this product, but I've got your best interests at heart. I'm going to give you my best advice, maybe even sometimes when it's not what you want to hear. And that there is a surprisingly long history that people have. So, I've heard from people 20 years later, oh, gee, we were across the table, or we made this connection. And those really do. They affect our legal practices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the legal industry is a services industry, right? And so I think a lot of it, that's one thing that might get lost early on, is that you're dealing with people and you're helping them through challenging moments, things that affect their lives and their business and their day-to-day work in a serious way. And it can be easy to sort of lose sight of that with all of the tasks that have to be done day to day.
Right. And so people will say, oh, be responsive, be responsible. And I think in the context of, because you're serving here, so.
Right. Is there anything about how you approach your workday, or how you run your practice, that might be helpful to newer attorneys who are potentially just getting started? Anything that you've used, any frameworks or anything else that have served you well?
So I think one of the important things to think about starting out is how we communicate, and that just the importance of communication. And I see different lawyers do it different ways, but I think spending some time to really just consciously come up with what's my communication strategy, I think can make a difference in a practice. I'm an advocate of a paper list, and of only putting 3 things on it, but every day it really helps me to say, here are my 3 things. Let me step away from the 75 emails or this fascinating article, and go back and look at where's my little note with my 3 things.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So
I know it's very old school.
No, I think it's a great idea. I think it's very easy to get sort of buried by looking at a 75 long to-do list and separating out a few things to use as a focal point for you during the day to really keep you focused. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
So I used to use this kind of complicated, give it a priority, I'd move
Yeah.
things around on the list, and then,
Hmm.
oh, I'm spending more time on the list.
Right.
Uh, so, so yeah,
Yeah, you end up spending more time on organizing all the things that you have to do instead of actually doing all the things.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, Great. I think that's great advice. How has having your own dedicated workspace sort of added to your practice? So I know for some small firms, some solos, they choose to work from home, or they may not invest in a dedicated workspace or even administrative assistance. Sometimes as a cost savings for them, or at least that's how they're perceiving it. How has part of or being a part of Carr, or being a part of the Carr community really influenced how your business runs day to day?
Yeah, I think for me to have the dedicated space at Carr has really been a worthwhile investment. And partly, I mean, I think we all have to work at home, or we get to work at home more, but there's a certain discipline that comes from get into the office. I'm not going to go do a load of laundry. I'm not going to, let me just wash the dishes while I'm at it. So for me, the discipline of, hey, you're at the office. I think that also for me to have support, I mean, the people here at Carr always give the message of, we'll do whatever you need to support your practice. Um, I think it just really makes a difference. Like, my back is covered. Here at Carr, part of what is included is conference room time. And I thought I would use it more than I did, but it just helped to be able to say to a client, yeah, come in and meet with me in this really beautiful conference space. Was helpful. Copiers and all that, it's just makes life much easier. When I first started, I was doing a matter with the IRS, and the person said to me, fax it to me. I'm like, fax it to you? Are you kidding me? Well, I could run out and go, I gotta fax this. They're like, fine, we got it. We'll fax it for you. So
Right. Yeah, that's funny. I think
yeah,
there's
do you have a fax machine in your home office?
I do not have a fax machine in my home
No, I
office.
hope not.
Yeah. However, when I was practicing at Reed Smith, we oftentimes were filing things via fax, sending things via fax. I think there are still some legacy organizations and departments who are still relying on fax, unfortunately. But yeah, I think the idea of having a dedicated space really puts you into a certain mindset each day, right? Allows you to create some separation, between work and home, that I think is really valuable, and helps you to create a buffer, between some things that are, potentially would be distraction points for you if you didn't have a dedicated place to go work.
Yeah. And the other thing I appreciate is to have other business people around, just to walk down the hall and say, hey, how are you? And in this basic Carr, there are awful lot of, not an awful, there are a lot of attorneys. And so it's nice to even have that exchange. What do you do? You're a litigator, I'm not a litigator. I think that's helpful to us when we're practicing, and we get so caught up in something. To have other people around is also helpful.
Yeah. One of the things that I missed when I started my law firm was the ability to walk down the hall and just knock on someone's door and say, hey, do you have 30 seconds for me to run this idea by you? And that, that can really be such a relief to just have someone give their input, or to validate, a plan that you have. So that sort of community is something I think that is an exceptional part of being in a workspace where there's other attorneys, just to have those folks as resources, because they understand and what it is you're doing day to day. Yeah. Great. Last question. What other advice would you give to younger lawyers, or newer attorneys, I should say, who are looking to build their own practice? Any other things that they should be thinking about?
I think that maybe plays off our earlier conversation. The idea of people that we run into and connections we make and contacts, it just, it really cannot be, it cannot be overstressed. And it's not just, hey, this is a potential client. I really do think, you know, that receptionist sitting at the front desk, the person who's helping you bait stamp something, they're really important. It's kind of a well-known and often repeated story around here about someone who commuted by train every day, and on the train platform would always kind of see the same guy. Takes a while, he finally talks to him. Well, of course, it becomes his biggest client. He has a fabulously successful practice, but it was partly, hey, I made this connection in a place at the time, not because I had some grand scheme, but gee, how does that all work out? And those things really do happen.
Yeah, I love those kinds of stories. I've heard lots of them, and they really are true. And I think it's what you do if you walk around all day just looking to, you know, build relationships with people with not sort of any end goal in mind, but just for the fact, you know, just through an understanding that we're all operating in a similar ecosystem, and there are all sorts of opportunities to help other people, and along with that comes opportunities for people to help you too. And so
right.
Yeah,
and they will
and they will,
surprisingly. So
yes, yeah, I agree. I think most people are willing to help, are willing to help us when we need help too. Yeah.